This is a very relaxed railroad. We're gonna have plenty of time to do the work, and if we don't get it finished, that's fine too. It might cause problems for the next guys tomorrow morning, but that's their problem.
That's their problem.
So feel free to take breaks whenever you want. The bathroom is upstairs, through the kitchen, down the hall, and at the very end of the hallway. We have snacks here. We have two kinds of cookies, some in a tin, some in a box. We got pretzels, we got candy, we got chips. Knock yourself out. And the beverages in the refrigerator right there. And there is a hidden waste basket beside the refrigerator. That's for cans and plastic bottles. So you're at the Buffalo and Pittsburgh. Buffalo and Pittsburgh was the fourth of the now ever-present Genesee and Wyoming railroads. The fourth one right after Rochester and Southern and Genesee and Wyoming itself, and then Louisiana and Delta down south was the third. B&P was the fourth. They were trying to sell this to the B&P for about 2 years before it actually happened. And that's because there was a big court case that the P&LE unions were fighting. They wanted to get the same money working at a short line railroad as they were getting at the mainline railroad. And of course, the railroad said, you know, if we buy it and pay you the same amount, we're going to be in the same situation the Class 1s were, or we can't afford to do it. So it took about 2 years for that case to be settled. When it was not in favor of the union. So the B&P took about 2 years to get it started up, and in that 2 years, there was not too much maintenance being done by CSX. So that's my cover for any track problems that you have. And the locomotive fleet, every bit of 30 years old for the most part, so that's my cover for any locomotive issues you have. That said, if you have any issues with locomotives, they should start out fine. If they all of a sudden degrade, that means you ran over a cobweb or a very, very small tree limb. Tell me about it and we'll get you new engines or we'll clean the ones that we got. So we're modeling, today we're doing 13 September, which is like 7 weeks after the railroad actually began operations. So ignorance, confusion, and chaos reign supreme. That's just management. So that's your cover for whatever mistakes, inefficiency, problems you might have. So again, very relaxed railroad features. This is a DC railroad, which, who has a DC railroad besides me? Anybody? So Gary gets it. Everybody else, it's like going to be like a... I've had DC railroads, I'm old enough. I know.
Say, we've all had DC railroads.
Yeah, but that was back when you were a teenager, see, so you've forgotten that. So I have to teach you about DC, but pretty much it's easy. I've lined the electrical blocks, the switchable electrical blocks with the direct traffic control blocks. So, okay, so the first job is the Buffalo switcher job, run 1. Works in this room only, doesn't go past this opening in the wall. I'm going to say that's the simplest job on the railroad. You're basically going to build a southbound train. There's no contention with other trains coming in to bother you. It's flat switching, and you're going to build a train. And if the guys in the other room do well, then you're going to run that train south, at least as far as Punxsutawney. So, and that is the only road train that actually runs on this railroad. There's a peninsula here, all the way up here to the end as far as you can see there. That's the east yard. Has this runaround yard, they call it, and they have the west yard with the engine facility. So the Butler yard, also a simple job. It's a bunch of simple jobs, but the key is it's spread out over a big territory. So that's your second job. I don't want to say that's the next simplest.
It's a fun job.
It's yeah, most everybody enjoys it. There are no bad jobs in the Buffalo and Pittsburgh. You all want to be happy to have a job.
Well, that sounds like
That
a
has to
cut. Here we have 2 yellow signs on the fascia. That's the block markings. So on this track, left of here is the John block, right of here is the Sal block. That's one way to figure out where your blocks are. Second way is you got these itty bitty little, you can't read them signs. It says Sal. Yeah, you can read them. Yeah.
And there's John.
And there's John. And then the exact, so that's your block boundaries, and that corresponds to these selector switches that you see here. They're a preset for you. You can at least get going without having to worry about having a DC system. Let's talk about the third job, which is the Bradford switcher. There's the engines for it. That runs from here to the corner, back behind Jason there. Works the Kendall oil refinery here, and then it goes 50 miles, as represented by this equipment bungalow, 50 miles down to Johnsonburg, and works the Johnsonburg Pentec Papers plant. That's fairly straightforward up here. There's a lot of facing trailing point issues down here, so it becomes a little bit more complicated. That's a good job too.
They're all good jobs.
They're all good jobs in the B&P. You ought to be happy to be working here. Down below, this entire lower level shelf, all the way from here back into Butler, is the Petrolia Northern Sub. And the fourth job works this. Comes out of Butler, runs around this entire stretch of track, switches 3 refineries. What makes this one interesting is at each of the refineries in the mailbox, they have a car order and switch list specific to the refinery. And it tells you not only what goes in and where, what comes out and where, but also if there's any respots or cars that need to stay where they are because they're not done loading them yet. So that is the most challenging job. Also, most people say it's the funnest. We'll see. First of all, to remind you that the jacks work anywhere. So say if you're working a Petrolia switcher, as long as you can find a jack that says number 3, Petrolia switcher assigned, you don't have to be right up on the railroad. As long as you can see your conductor and hear them, then you're good to go. So that kind of eases the congestion. All right, let's talk about switches now. Probably a unique system to throw the switches. What it is they're all manual throws. About 202 of them, I think. There's a sprung steel wire that comes up and tensions the switch points to usually the normal route. And then underneath the gravel, or exposed sometimes because I've adjusted them, there's a steel plate with a notch in it. So what you do is, with one finger, you just grab the top of it, and you move it away from that plate and find the notch or let the tension thing. So it's just that easy. Now usually that plate is going to be towards the frog on the point side, but occasionally because of what's underneath, it's going to be on the other side, away from the points. I think this might be one of them. Yeah, this one's here, I think. So see how easy it is? And then I have 4 or 5 that I have converted to magnets. If there's no pin sticking up, then you just use your finger to move the points, and hopefully, it's kind of experimental, but hopefully it'll go the right way and stay the right way. That's the end of the north end of the Du Bois switcher job. They switch that tie plant. They switch all this rest car stuff in here and team track, and they work the whole way down into Punxsutawney where they get their cars. So Du Bois' job works this side of the room. The Bradford Johnsonburg works that corner. The Petrolia switcher BT3 works the whole lower level all around. Here's where the pt.1 Butler switcher works. And
Someone's joining us.
yeah, apparently. And over in the other room is the Buffalo switcher. All right, let's go back to where we started. Thank you. Very informal. I'm trying to sound railroady, whatever that means to you. It's not that big a deal. I gave you guys seniority by site numbers, but there's also some guys that have been here before and they already have a seniority number. And that is so that if they've been here before and they want to try to do better than the last time, they can pick the same job, or if they don't ever want to see that job again, they can pick a different job. I think that's only fair. There are no bad jobs in the B&P. They'll be happy
We're just
working
glad you have a
here.
job.
Yeah, okay, see, you say it often enough, they start believing it. I
We're
like
grateful
it.
for the paycheck
I
that
like
you
it.
send us.
No kidding.
We're worth the paycheck you sent us too.
Well, we used to be worth twice that amount. but-
Right.
All right, it's always a fascinating experiment. We run two-man crews. I didn't mention that before. There's two-man crews, so you're gonna have an engineer and a conductor. You bid whichever one job you want. For those who don't know, the conductor makes the decisions and gives the instructions. The engineer drives the locomotive. Doesn't usually make decisions or give instructions or even comments or critiques, but that's why it's a fascinating experiment.
Oh, I've heard engineers give critiques.
Yeah, I have too.
That was stupid.
But the engineer's real job is to stay on the track, don't split the switches or bust up couplers, or exceed the DTC authority. Anyway, you can switch halfway if you want, and I'm going to make that the engineer's prerogative because generally engineering is not as fun, but it's up to the engineer, okay? Okay, we're going to bid the jobs.
What was the date of the calendar date for the session?
13 September
Of what year?
1988. So,
Son was 12 years old.
yeah, to set the tone there, Ronald Reagan's the president, George Bush and Michael Dukakis are running for it. Gorbachev just began the withdrawal of the Soviet army from Afghanistan, which is an excellent idea. I think we ought to do that too.
Maybe shouldn't have got it
Maybe
in the
next
first place.
week.
C. Everett Koop says nicotine addiction is similar to heroin and cocaine addiction. Crack cocaine appears. Inflation rate was 4%. Gas costs 96 cents a gallon. Ugh.
They were bitching about it.
Yeah. Median home price $110,000 with 10% interest. And Apple stock was trading at 10 cents per share. Hope
And
you
we're
got
happy
some.
it was 10% because
Yeah.
it used to be 19% for a while.
Yeah, that's true. True. Cell phone weighed in at 28 ounces and cost $2,500.
My dad had one.
We're looking forward in just the end of this week. The Seoul Summer Olympics are going to begin. Movies are Rain Man, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Big, Die Hard. Average ticket cost $4. That's not too bad. It's only like,
You get a popcorn for $4. Yeah.
well, no, you can't do that.
What theater are you going to?
The drive-in.
You can
Okay.
find one of those.